I think this is the win-win, is really leaning in on updating and understanding greenhouse gas emissions, processes, controls, and just the calculation and methodologies to really kind of level that up.
Joining me today is Christine Robinson, Partner, Sustainability and ESG with Deloitte. Here at REITworks, you were on a panel focused on climate change disclosure and the SEC's proposed rule. Can you start by updating us on the status of this rule and when it's expected to become effective?
So currently it's proposed. We haven't seen the finalized rule yet. The comment period closed this summer with over 14,000 comment letters. The SEC had on their rulemaking agenda proposed an October timeframe, but I think at some point before the end of the year is probably a safe bet. But until we have a final rule in hand, we'll see.
So where do you see the biggest gaps in terms of REITs being able to meet the requirements of this proposed rule?
There's a couple of different places, and I think it's challenges more so than gaps. The rule, if we look at the part of the rule that includes greenhouse gas emissions accounting and reporting, it really is going to mean a fundamental shift in the way that companies are currently doing that, from a potentially different boundary, drastically different timing, which means lack of access to data and will likely require more estimations. And so just even that fundamental shift in GHG accounting will be a large gap. Also, part of the rule is, it hits inside the financial statements, and there's not necessarily clear guidance within the rule itself to help companies ascertain what is a climate-related risk or transition risk, and having to go through that evaluation of explicitly identifying those, and then on top of that, turning around and looking at your historical financial statements to be able to quantify that, to potentially have to call that out in the financial statements. I think that's maybe not a gap, more so as it's a long road to get there.
And lastly, what are things that REITs should be doing now to prepare?
I think there's a couple of different things. First is starting with just a gap analysis of here's what the rule says, here's where we're currently at. Because that kind of gives you then the roadmap of, we're going to have to go this far on this section, we're meeting the mark here. The second thing, and I think this is the win-win, is really leaning in on updating and understanding greenhouse gas emissions, processes, controls, and just the calculation and methodologies to really kind of level that up. And I call that a win-win because REITs are doing that right now. They're disclosing that information in their voluntary ESG reports. But putting it in the 10K kind of ups the stakes quite a bit. And even if the SEC rule goes away completely, if companies kind of undertake that initiative to look at and upgrade their systems, their processes, their controls, that's a win for their ESG report too, because it's going to result in better quality data that they are themselves using, not just for disclosure, because that's just the first part is disclosure. Then it's action and having to decarbonize, and all of that kind of leads just to more quality and credible information out there.